During our class videos, you may hear our poets and playwrights use terms that are new to you. We have created a list of key terms and definitions that you can refer to at any point during our video lectures. This list is available on the Videos and Readings class page, where you can read it or download it as a PDF. If you would like to find and review these terms while you watch each class video, you can stop this video, go back to the Videos and Readings class page, and download the PDF. There you can play this video and each of the following class videos. If you have any questions about these terms, we encourage you to ask your teaching team in the weekly class discussions.
Len Berkman is an American playwright and has taught playwriting since 1969. His plays include We Three, Excuse Me for Even Daring to Open My Mouth, Till the Beatles Reunite, Adultery Without Touch, Voila, Rape in Technicolor, Missing Children, I Won't Go See a Play Called A Parent's Worst Nightmare, Quilts, Quote Unquote, and These Are Not My Breasts. Berkman has served as Hispanic Playwrights Project Festival Dramaturg at South Coast Repertory, Berkman has served as Hispanic Playwrights Project Festival Dramaturg at South Coast Repertory, as Mark Taper Forum's Playwright Mentor in Los Angeles, as New Play Development Dramaturg at Ward Bridge in Florida, at Epic Theater Ensemble in New York City, and on script development teams at Robert Redford Sundance Institute in Utah. He's the Anne Hesselstein Hoyt Professor of Theater at Smith College.
Okay, I'm Len Berkman, and I teach playwriting and dramatic literature at Smith College and work professionally both as a playwright and a dramaturg. And to tell you the truth, I'm far happier working with other playwrights, developing their work and getting their work up for production. It's nice to have my own work done, but it's not what feeds me. What feeds me is teaching and writing. What I like to do right now is actually utilize this very immediate moment as the starting point for thinking about creating a play. We often see the blank page as a scary emptiness. How do we fill it? What do we do about it? And I'd like you to think of this blank page as the equivalent of an invitation. Nothing's written on it yet, but you are invited to do that. And if you think about the immediate moment, the moment you are in right now actually watching this video, you can actually look at that moment as a stimulus in and of itself. I'm going to do that stage by stage, beginning with me. I think most of us, when we write, begin with ourselves and hopefully don't end with ourselves. And what I'm doing right now is trying to imagine you. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea what you know, what you don't know, what you wish for, what you don't wish for, where you are, and when you will be watching this video. Something major in global events could have happened that would immediately recontextualize how you hear what I'm saying, and I have no clue as to what that is. I only know my own present time, and I also have no idea at this point, and this is similar to when we write a play, I have no idea what voice I'm using. I don't plan it. I'm just looking at you as I imagine you to be in that camera eye. And with all of that, I can then move from who I am, at least who I think I am, as a person who wants to be of assistance, wants to help in a particular area that I'm thought to have some kind of expertise for. But I can also imagine myself doing something else. For instance, I can become a salesman. I could be talking to you selling a product. And if I wanted to help you, I don't know whether I'm going to help you. If I'm going to try to sell a product, I don't know whether you are going to end up buying that product. Perhaps I am a prisoner of war. Perhaps I am forced to talk with you right now because my hope is that I won't continue to be tortured, that I will in some way assure my ultimate freedom. I won't be killed before I'm released. And whatever image you might have yourselves of the circumstance I'm in, comes with an intention. It comes with something I want to accomplish in the person I am, and that will dictate as well how I approach it. Verbally, and right now you're not seeing my behavior other than my moving hands, but of course if I were in a space with implements, if I had a hammer, if I had a knife, you might see me utilizing that implement in order to achieve something that I wanted to achieve. So that's where I begin with me. But then there's you. You're watching me at your time and your place, and I'm interacting with who you are or who I think you are. You're interacting with who you think you are and who you think I am. And why are you watching me? What is it that you are wanting out of watching me? Suppose, for example, I were a dictator. Suppose I were speaking on this tape to try to influence your thinking and to try to assure your obedience. You, in turn, have to decide what the conditions are that might make you obedient against your will, or might make you rebel against me, might make you think this tape is dangerous and needs to be destroyed before anybody else, this videotape, destroyed before anybody else sees it. So you yourself, sitting or standing or jumping or running or whatever you're doing when you are watching this video, need to decide, need to know what it is you want in this very given moment, which is a different moment for you than it is for me, and which is going to tap different feelings, different thoughts on your part than the feelings and thoughts on my part, although we may be in sync, may be amazingly in sync, the way that it often does happen. I must say, for me anyway, you see somebody across the room in a crowded room and a whole stranger business, and immediately your eyes click, something is there, you make a move toward each other, and within 5 minutes you're old friends. That's always possible too. Friends and enemies are equally dramatic because when you make a new friend, there's tension involved. And how do I sustain this connection? Just as if you make an instant enemy, there's tension involved. There's more obvious tension. What do I do about this enemy to keep myself safe? So having now thought about this particular moment of you watching me, of me talking to you, you might even be talking to me and I don't hear you. We often have theatrical situations where, as an example, in Central Park in New York, there are often outdoor Shakespeare productions, and if you see ever the production of Othello, when Iago comes on stage, the villain of that play, the audience goes, "Boo!" And what are you going to do about that? If you're the actor, you hear the boo. It's not for you as an actor, it's for you as Iago. And the audience is having a great deal of pleasure out of knowing that whatever the audience says will not impact on what Iago says, but it may impact on what Iago feels in what he's saying and how the actor is going to proceed with this clearly hostile, clearly knowing audience. So I don't hear what you're saying. You hear what I'm saying. That's unfair in some sense. And you may feel it unfair because the other side of it is you may wish to speak with me. You may wish to know how to reach me. And unless you do know how to reach me, unless you have a means of reaching me that you can anticipate, there's a frustration on your part if you want to reach me. If you don't want to reach me, there's no frustration. You just have to watch the tape. The tape is over, you go on with whatever your life is holding for you, and you're perfectly fine. Where I'm going with all of this is that I have, in whatever self I decide I am at the moment, and I say decide I am because as a playwright you make choices. Choices are critical in drama. You don't just accept the given. And you decide who you are as a playwright, and you decide who you are as the receiver of that play or that speech or that action. And with that decision comes your assessment of how intensely you feel in that moment. And in dramatic terms, feeling doesn't work. all by itself. We think so. We think acting is emotionally out, and it really isn't. It's finding the behavior that serves the passion, that gets you something your passion is yearning for. So you have to start thinking about what it is you feel most strongly about. Playwrights in my class sometimes don't find that until maybe the 6th week of their first semester of studying to write. Even people who have ideas at the top of their heads, for instance, if they're people of color, they'll want to write about racial issues, but they don't know yet what the particularity of that writing is going, what form that is going to take. And then in the 6th or so week of writing, I'm just going to give you one example. I'll just make one up, but it is actually a memorable example. It's of a person who felt, one of my recent students, that being African American, she was expected to write as an African American and to forego any other identity that she might have as a woman, as a person not of privilege. Her wonderful phrase was, "I grew up in the garbage of Baltimore and Philadelphia, and here she is at Smith College. How did she get there? What enabled her to get there? What prevents other people from getting there?" She was herself thinking not only of her own arc, her own trajectory of life, but of those who have different trajectories. So you think about what your passion is. It could be a passion about something you want for yourself, but it can also be, and actually more interestingly, ultimately, can be your passion for what you want for other people, and what you think you need to do to get something for them that they don't have. If they're suffering from an injustice, how do you anticipate acting on their behalf as well as on your own behalf to make the corrections, to adjust the social situation, to change not only individual people's behavior, but the structure of the country or the culture that you live in? When you decide what your passion is, one of the strange things about that is it's not an end. You might say, "Oh, I'm angry." Okay, let's start with I'm angry. I'm angry and therefore, because there's always a consequence in dramatic structure. Therefore what? If I'm angry, what do I do about my anger? Voice it? Simply voice it? Not good enough. That's, okay, I'm angry and I'll tell you why I'm angry, but there's no intention yet. What I have to do in talking about my anger is to convince whoever is listening to me, and it may be me, it may be that I need to hear myself, which is why we have soliloquies on stage too. People like Hamlet who need to talk to themselves to figure things out because they don't know at that point what they want to do. So if I'm angry, the next thing is the challenge of finding out what it is I need to do about my anger, what I need to achieve to satisfy the needs of that anger, and how do I know when I've achieved it? Very often it's in more than one step. And this is often why in the former years of conventional playwriting, we had 3-act plays. We had a point where you would reach a seeming movement forward, but it really wasn't complete. It actually enhanced, it intensified something further that needed to be done. And then as a playwright, you had to try to figure out what would be more intense, what would be more significant than even this stage that I reached. And most playwrights I knew who were writing in in my generation had most trouble with the second act because they put all of their thrust of energy into that first act. The first act was superb. Will that happen or won't that happen? And you think, okay, then second act is going to be that it does or it doesn't, or why it doesn't, why it doesn't, why it does. But it's, will this happen? And if it happens, will it lead to worse? Will it lead to more complications? Will it lead to a harder problem to figure out? And that's where the second act actually became the weight of the meat, the real significance of the play, because you realize that when you are passionately in pursuit of a goal, it takes work. I've been married for 54 years, and often I'm asked, how are you married this long? And you would think I might say because we love each other, and of course that's there, but it isn't, because loving each other would not have been enough. It's the work that the love requires. And so you've now worked into the second act, and things have gotten worse, not better. There's more work yet ahead. And the third act then takes a very interesting approach, because you might want to write a play. America is big on hope. You may want to write a play where if things get resolved. On the other hand, and speaking of the United States as well, we distrust empty hope. We distrust the sentiment of solving everything. And so we like sometimes to have a good result on one level and a problem result on another and a question result on a third. All of this has to do with our sense of where society that we live in takes us. Can we get everything we want? And here again, your belief system is going to play into the kind of play that you might develop. If you believe, in fact, that we live in a global despair, there's no way out, then you write certain kinds of plays that show how important it is that we find a way out that we haven't found yet. Those people who are very concerned with changing the world will often prefer a play like that to a play where there is a solution. Bertolt Brecht is an example of a playwright who wants his work especially to rouse the audience into realizing something still has to be done, rather than having the audience satisfied that in the play the goal was reached. So now you can applaud, you can go out and talk about the play, but there's nothing you need to do about the society in which you live, the country in which you live, because the play has done it for you. This is actually an attack on Aristotle, one of the major theorists of drama, for whom there is a catharsis at the end of a given play. And for Brecht, this meant satisfying everything that had built up in the audience and then releasing it. And there are people who can do that, who want to do that, who believe in that. But if you do, write that kind of play. If you don't, again, plays send messages. In addition to the story, in addition to the characters and the situations and the development of consequences one after another, the more of that, the more it becomes a real serious question as to where you want to leave your audience. Do you want to leave them happy? Do you want to leave them thinking? Do you want to leave them ready to protest? I will give you, in closing, one particular super example. In the United States, we have plays that become historic, and they're period pieces. We have a play in Poland called Forefathers' Eve in its translation by Adam Mickiewicz. And for all I know, one of you are Polish, or more than one of you are Polish, and you actually know this play. It is a very thick play. It takes a long time to do, and it was written in the 1830s. And it is still as current as any play one would write in this given era. So that when this play was revived among its many revivals, and first, of course, it could not be produced. All through the 19th century, it would not be produced until a playwright director realized how to do it. Vispiansky, if you want his name, in the 1890s did the first production of it. But in 1968, this play was done, and the audience was so roused by it, so aware of its pertinence to what they considered to be the offensive government in Poland in 1968, that the play sent them out into the public into the outdoors, ready to revolt. And we have no play from 1830s in the United States that could ever have that achievement. So again, these are things that are maybe happenstance, but I don't really think so. I think if you're writing about now, whatever now is for you, there are times you will write about now and it'll stay with the now, but there are other times when the now becomes then. And what kind of play you want to write? Do you want to write about what you're feeling in the moment, not thinking about what its wider ramifications are? That's perfectly okay. Don't ever stop yourself by thinking what you're writing is unimportant, what you're writing is unoriginal, because the main thing to realize, well, for instance, if you stabbed me right now, I mean, if you could jump through your screen and stab me, what would happen to me? I would bleed. And you could say to me, oh, come on, you could come up with a more original response to being stabbed, but it's my blood. It's my pain. And as you will write, you write from your own pain, from your own blood, and whatever it is, the passion of that, the purpose of that, is where I think your writing will take you best. Thank you.